Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Liminal One Project, where we focus our conversation on personal and professional change. I'm your host, Clinton Kehr. On this episode, we spend our time with Mike Podesto. Mike is founder and president of Find My Profession. He is a LinkedIn influencer with over 40,000 followers and spends a good bit of his time providing free content on everything related to finding a new job. Mike is an expert in his field, and his organization's services have assisted people in attainment of top positions at Google, Fitbit, Chevron, Amazon, and additional top companies. Our conversation focused on people changing jobs or obtainment of a job and a new career and how to minimize your efforts. Let's tune in to this great learning experience with Mike. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, thanks. How's it going?
Pretty good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
Thanks for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself and about your organization.
So Find My Profession is a company that works specifically with six-figure earners here in the U.S. to pretty much manage their job search for them. So our average client is somebody making around $200K a year. Really, the qualification is making over $100K though, and we help them find jobs by doing every single thing that they should be doing in the job search process: applying to jobs, editing their resume, sending cover letters, etc. We also put out a lot of content that's applicable to really all job seekers, not just six-figure earners. We have over 400 blogs a year that we create. We're on track to be creating over 700 this year. So we put out a lot of great content for job seekers, and you can find that on Google or on LinkedIn.
Great. So could you talk to us a little bit about how you started this business and what kind of manifested to bring you into starting your own company to help people find a different job or a different career?
Yeah, sure. So it really started just personally. I was working in the recruiting and staffing industry. I was a little bit unhappy with my role. It was just not the best fit for me. So I ended up coming home after a long day of work and searching Google to see, how to apply for jobs. I hadn't really done it a whole lot in the past. I'd just been really recruited for the roles that I went into. So I searched, and it seemed kind of like a pain having to go on Indeed or LinkedIn and apply to jobs and do everything that goes into the job search process. So I just typed in Google, can I pay somebody to find me a job, or, company that I pay to apply to jobs for me, and really couldn't find anything at all. So I thought, hey, why is there not a service for this? I'm willing to pay for it. I'm sure other people are. So from that day forward, Find My Profession pretty much began, and now we offer that solution to job seekers.
So interestingly enough, because you weren't happy in a job, you were looking for a new job and you wanted some help, that sort of created the business that you started. Interestingly enough, 2 out of 3 people actually greatly dislike their jobs, their careers. Why do you believe the majority of people aren't happy in their current jobs?
I think it's because of our country's history. We didn't really go to work because we liked working. That's kind of a newer thing. We went to work to make money and to earn a paycheck. So a lot of people still are doing that. They go to work because they get paid well. They don't necessarily like what they do. So I working hasn't always been a place to be happy or something you needed to like. It was just something you needed to do to put food on the table. So it's slowly changing, I think, in the right direction, and people care, more about work-life balance and happiness and spending time with their family or whatever it is, more than going to work and making a good living.
Sure. Do you think when people come to your organization, that's part of what they're seeking? Your organization's assistance to find a better career?
Yeah. So, a lot of people that we're working with are unhappy with their current situation at work, and they've been around long enough to where they know exactly what they're looking for in the next career. And it's exactly what we do, is try to help them get that, dream position that they don't currently have.
It's very interesting. So you made a really good point. You talked about even you didn't want to do the work. So you Googled how to find a way to, to find a new job or help finding a new job.
Hmm.
Why do you think it's difficult for people to kind of make that change or head in the right direction as it relates to looking for a new job and finding that right career?
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with the time investment. It's very time consuming. I was personally working 50 plus hour work weeks, which I know there's a lot of people who work a lot more than I was. I had an hour commute each way. So really I had from about 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. or actually, sorry, 4 a.m. when I needed to get back up in the morning to do my job search and also do whatever else I wanted to do, whether that was go to the gym, cook dinner, I mean, anything. So not, there's only so many hours in the day. A job takes up a good chunk of them. And it's difficult to invest the time it takes into a job search and find something that is actually fulfilling and kind of checks all the boxes and isn't just a lateral movement to another company that you're going to be miserable at 2 years later.
Yeah, you make an interesting point. Part of the reason I started following you on LinkedIn was the content that you were putting out. And I'm an advocate that if you're not happy, you should start looking for a job. And what really caught my eye was, I think I said the same thing at one point. Why can't I pay somebody to do this? So it was good to see someone offering that service, because I think a lot of people just aren't happy, but they need the help. So talk to me a little bit about the tools that you and your organization offer to really help clients either make a change or move into that new position.
Yeah, this could be considered good or bad for some people, depending on what they're looking for. But I wouldn't really say that we offer tools. I think that's what makes us a little different. Every company out there claims to be offer some great tool, whether it's a resume, which is a tool to help you get interviews, or interview training, which is interview training. So there's 100 different career coaches or services out there that are designed to help you. None of them really guarantee the work, and none of them do everything for you. So you could find 100 services on how to job search, and you could read a million articles about it, but nobody's really willing to just do it for you and manage it all for you. So what we offer is the full package. We do everything that somebody needs to do in their job search, and we do it better than I think anybody could ever do on their own, because we have a dedicated team that's been doing this for a while. So, so rather than offering tools, we just say, hey, rather than teaching you how to fish, we're just going to give you a fish. We're going to do it for you. We're going to fish for you.
I assume there's some components though that the client, right, would be responsible for. So when it comes to interviewing, it's still the client who's going to have to participate in some fashion in the interview.
Yeah, I got it. So our blog page is really probably our biggest tool. So we designed it originally not necessarily for organic traffic or to get new people reading that. It was really for our clients. We found that I can only do so much to help each person, and I have solid content, so I might as well write it down and put it in writing. So now when somebody needs help with something, rather than individually taking the time to explain it, I can point them to a specific article that I recall because I wrote it, and say, hey, here's the best way to answer the question, what are your greatest weaknesses in an interview, or whatever it is. So we have again 500 plus articles and 700 plus a year being created that all are specific to helping people get jobs.
So yeah, let's talk about that a little more. That's how I came across you, reading really the free content that you're putting out there for all job seekers. So let's talk a little bit about that. Why are you putting out really free content that is a benefit to everyone, really, in my eyes, on LinkedIn? Because I would say probably 90% of the people aren't going to stay in the same career for their entire life. So it's a value to a huge group of people on the network. So could you talk to a little bit about why you're putting out that free career advice?
Yeah, so I think it's important for people to know that they have options. That there's tools out there to help them find a job, and not everybody's aware of that unless they're specifically looking for it. So to know that there's professionals in the industry that can help them in their job search when they feel somewhat helpless. We work with. If you're an engineer or a software engineer, you aren't necessarily an expert writer. You're not going to be the best at writing cover letters or your resume, so it can be a little overwhelming. You're professional in the industry that you're in doesn't make you a professional job seeker. So it's good for people to be aware and know that there's experts out there, and there's a lot more people other than me on LinkedIn that are helping spread that awareness. But we want to put out content to help people, kind of the do-it-yourselfers, and also make people aware that there are solutions for their job-related problems.
Absolutely. There's just great value in the content that you're putting out there, because I think it's, again, as we talk a lot about this, it's either a big change for people when they want to move to a career, or there's a lot of people who are even scared to get in the process, right? When we think about applying to jobs, receiving potentially rejection letters, we think about going to an interview and not hearing back from a company, that you, in a sense, even provide motivation to people as it relates to continuing the path to finding the right career. If someone were going to, they wanted to make that change in their career, how do you think they should get started? You put a lot of content out there. When I view it online on LinkedIn, it's you're right, it's not a set process, and that's great. But if you could offer some advice, how do people get started? There's just so much to do.
Yeah. Well, first I'd say check out Find My Profession and see if we can help. If that's not the case, then it's difficult because there's so much content out there. It can almost seem overwhelming. Any question you have about career related advice, there's 5 million articles all giving you probably a different answer for each of them. So it can be really confusing. Who do I listen to? Who do I follow? So I think finding somebody who you consider to be a knowledgeable person whose perspective and values you agree with, and then really focusing on their content. Instead of going on Google and just seeing what the first result is, finding some people that you respect and you appreciate, and reach out to them and see if they'll respond, and also try to find content from them. Type in their name and the career related question you have, and see if anything pops up. So yeah.
Do you think there's a way to should people be focusing on where they want to work, or looking more towards people that have similar careers of where they want to head?
To reach out to and get advice from?
Yeah, so you mentioned that in your last response, and I'm thinking, if I want a new engineering job and I want to go work for Google, should I be looking to reach out to people at Google, or should I be looking at engineers who may have a higher status in employment that could help out?
I would do both. The people that are probably not at Google would be better to start the conversation with, just other engineers, people that you're not necessarily going to be asking for a job after asking for advice. That would be a little awkward. Hey, how do I do well in this interview? By the way, can I get an interview? I don't see that going too well. So probably
Sure.
Get as much advice as you can from people outside of the companies of interest, and then go into the companies a little bit more educated so that you can have a solid conversation with somebody. But at the end of the day, it's you got to offer value to get value. So reaching out to somebody and just asking for advice isn't always going to go a long way, especially if there's somebody who actually gives good advice, because they're probably pretty busy. So find out how you can be helpful to them, and be very appreciative of their time, and you're going to get the best advice from the best quality people that way.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think if I would have asked that question to job seekers, their response would have been, I should start with my resume, or I should start with practicing interview techniques. So it's good to hear an answer from your perspective, someone that works in this every day, that ultimately a great place to start is just researching, right? And just figuring out. Go ahead.
Yeah, and to just build on that, what's the point of starting a resume if you don't know exactly what you are looking for yet, or what needs to be said on that resume, what skills are required? I mean, people jump. You're right. That's probably the first thing everybody thinks. I need a resume, and then then I can do my LinkedIn, and then I can do all that. But if you really aren't very specifically targeted towards the role that you want, the company that you want, resume is just going to be, valueless. So.
Great. So I know you focus a lot on people who meet a certain earning potential. You also focus probably people who are have reached a certain status in their career. Do you have any advice for either some people right out of school or millennials on what they can focus on as it relates to really finding their profession, or looking for what meets their needs from a career perspective?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what we were saying, really reaching out to people that are in the desired roles you want and trying to learn as much about the role. Doing internships while you're young and can is awesome. Too many people are just trying to jump into I want to get paid a bunch of money and screw an internship type thing, and it's really counterproductive. If you think about it, if you spend just 2 years, some people spend 10 plus, but if you spend 2 years in a role and then decide, I want to switch and do something else, nowadays, general experience and having a diverse skill set is not considered valuable at all. It used to be where you could work at 5 different companies in 5 different industries, and that was all great. Nowadays, you have to be so hyper-focused on one specific thing that if you just waste 2 years doing something, it's a total waste. You might as well have spent 6 months in an unpaid internship to realize that you hate this. So doing your research before you jump into something is going to be huge. Knowing what industry you want to be in, what role you want, where you want to be 20 years from now, so that you can work backwards and find that. I'm really putting in the groundwork to build the foundation before you start the job search and start your career. Would be a big thing, and not just going after money. So I know a lot of people don't want to be teachers or policemen or whatever it is because of the money.
Yeah.
One, there's great benefits and retirements for those people, but don't do something because you want to make a ton of money. You're going to end up like people did 50 years ago, unhappy, and have the highest population of alcoholics than ever. So I would say try to find something that makes you happy, as cliche as that sound. Maybe a combination of happy and money. If that works, then great, but build that foundation before.
Okay, a couple more questions here. If you could provide one sole piece of advice for people who want to change their career, what would that be?
I'd say leap in, but no, that's kind of contrary to the research part. So I know that a lot of people are skeptical about changing careers because they think that it's going to be a really difficult process, and it is. So don't think it's going to be easy, but don't be afraid either. So I'd say go into it knowing that it's going to be a challenge. You're going to get a ton of rejection before you get any acceptance, for the most part, and don't get discouraged by that. So one piece of advice, I guess, would be go for it and don't get discouraged, and understand that it's going to be slightly difficult, but it's totally worth it to do it.
Yeah, I think that's very good advice. I think that advice is equally as important to people who, even if you want to stay in the same career, but maybe switch jobs, right? So I'm comfortable where I'm at, though I'm not happy with my boss, I'm just going to stay here, right? But it's taking the leap, it's taking the motivation, it's staying on track to be able to kind of transition and move to that new role. Before we wrap up here, could you tell me from your perspective, from sort of the owner operator CEO perspective, what you guys are really working on? What's your focus over the next 6 months or year as it relates to your organization and the continuum of helping people as it relates to the advice that you provide?
Yeah. So we're definitely looking to scale up. This is kind of the year. We've played it pretty safe over the last 2 years. We really didn't want to take a huge volume of clients and then have a service that has about a 6-month on average turnaround. So we've tried to keep enough customers to be able to pay our salaries, but not be overwhelmed, so that we can strategize on ways to improve the service. So we don't want to be so busy that everybody just gets thrown in some funnel and we just have the same processes that we do over and over for them. We like to be continuously innovative and try new strategies, new messaging, anything that will help our clients get hired. We want to constantly be adapting and changing. We've done that really well up until this point. We've got a pretty solid strategy that is really making people happy, and we feel that we're ready to take on a higher volume of clients. We've hired 3 people in the last 6 months compared to 0 before that. So we are looking to grow to about a 8 to 10 person team by the end of the year, and take on 5 to 10 times more clients than we have in the past.
Great. Appreciate it. Anything else from you, Mike?
I'm pretty good here. Unless you have any other questions, I'm happy to shoot the stuff with you for a little bit and chat.
Hey man, I just well, first of all, I just want to thank you for your time. To your audience and my audience who will be listening to this, for anybody, please feel free to share this video. It'll provide value to a lot of people. I know Mike does a really great job at replying to comments. So any comments that you want to list, as well as check out the description for some more information regarding my podcast, as well as Mike's business. And Mike, where can we find any information for you regarding either your website or your LinkedIn profile so people can find you?
Yeah, so the website's findmyprofession.com. So pretty easy to remember if you remember our company name. And you could find me by just typing in Mike Podesto. There's not a whole lot of Mike Podestos out there. So send me a message. I always make it a point to respond to anybody who sends me an email on LinkedIn, so they get their credit back and don't feel ignored. So promise to respond if you send me a message.
All right. Great, Mike. Thanks for your time today. And thanks everybody for listening. For tuning in into that interview with Mike Podesto. For more information on Mike, the services offered by his organization, or for some just general and additional tips on job seeking, please check out findmyprofession.com. If you'd like to tune in to this podcast on a regular basis, you can search on any podcast app, the Liminal One Project. Again, I'm your host, Kehr. You can check me out at clintonkehr.com. Thank you very much for listening today. Leave any comments below. Till next time.